how hard is it to produce regular video content? It is really, really hard. So I've just made 265th episode of my show. And it is a big commitment. That is years of work that's gone into that.
My name is Peter Sumpton, and you're listening to the Marketing Study Lab podcast, the podcast that gives you actionable marketing knowledge, getting you and your marketing in the best possible shape to be the driving force of your business for long-term success. From strategy and tactics to practical application, we've got it all covered. If you'd like to support the show, it'd be fantastic if you could leave a 5-star Apple Podcast review or get in touch, especially if you have a burning marketing question. I'd love to chat it through with you. Email me, peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk. Or you can find me on LinkedIn. There's a link in the show notes if you can't be bothered searching on LinkedIn. So what are we going to learn, and who's on Marketing Study Lab today? Well, welcome to 2020, the third year of Marketing Study Lab. Well, I think it's third year. We're into our 93rd episode, so thank you so much for sticking with us. But that's enough of all that celebration malarkey. How about we get down to some good, valid marketing discussion? Video is undeniably an important part of the marketing function. So much content being video-based, particularly on our social platforms, which we spend a heck of a lot of time on. In fact, around 4.5 million videos are now viewed on YouTube alone. And that's in 60 seconds. So who better to talk us through all things video related than Mark Harman, the founder and video producer of Red Books Productions. Not only does Mark work from pre to post production, but it's about working out how a video can work for an individual or a company and help to engage with their specific audience on a regular basis using episodic content rather than one-off pieces. And Mark has been a videographer and post and pre-producer since 2007, way back in school, believe it or not. So I'm actually keen to understand what he actually used to film way back then in terms of hardware and production values and things like that. Sure, it'll be interesting. But only one place to start thinking of high quality, high value video content. Mark, what video are you sending into You've Been Framed?
Oh, so this is a good question. This is something I had to think hard about the other day. So I was filming probably 2 weeks ago, and the cameras were still rolling, and I was sort of moving some lights around, and I didn't realise that my lanyards from my keys was hanging out my pocket. I tripped over that head first, knocked the light over, and like smashed into the wall. And the client was just standing there like, and then she was like, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, fine." So yeah, don't leave that hanging out your pocket because it's potentially embarrassing and potentially life-threatening as well.
Cool, excellent. You could have earned 250 quid there. Plus, you've given us all a health and safety tip, so win-win.
Yeah, there you go.
Excellent. Right, let's get on to the serious stuff. And what's your story that's brought you to this stage in your career?
So I first started making films in sort of 2007. This is with my friend Jake from school. So we were told to make like a PowerPoint presentation about a poem we were making, about a poem that we were reading for A-level English. And we just thought, oh, we'll make a video instead. So we made like a number of videos from that one onwards. So into the summer, we were making various films and stuff like that. And then over the summer, I was sort of due to go to university in the September, and I was going to do drama and education. And over the summer, I sort of realised I really enjoyed making these films. So like about a week before I was due to start university, I just sort of rang the university and asked if I could change my course. And changed it to film. And they said, yeah, that's fine. It's really weird how easy that is to do that.
Yeah.
They've got your money. They don't really care what course you do.
Yeah. Just make sure you turn up a few times and yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, I went to university and I made film. Like I did film there and made like loads of films most of the films I made were sort of off on my own rather than for my course, which was they were probably the more fun ones. But then I did make some good ones for my course as well, which were quite enjoyable. And then after university, I thought, oh, I'll just walk into a job. I've got a degree now, which is what everyone tells you when you go to university. Oh, you're just
Yep.
walking into a job. And what you don't really know is that it's really, really hard to find a job after university because everyone's got a degree. You don't stand out. So the way I stood out was I think I'll make my own work. So I started off doing like wedding videography. Started doing just sort of random videos for businesses of people I met at networking and things like that. That was in 2011. It's now 2019. Nearly 2020, and sort of haven't really stopped since 2011. So I thought initially I'll just do it to get some experience and then I'll get a job. But it's gone pretty well. So yeah, it's like 8 years.
That's cool. So when you first started back in 2007, what were you making the videos on?
So that's a good question. So my dad had a camera that he used to take photos of road traffic accidents. It was
Sorry,
his job.
that's not funny. It's not just the way you said it.
It was his job. He's like an insurance surveyor. So he would like take photos of the accidents and the roads and stuff like that. I sort of went into his office because he had a home office, and I just sort of took his camera.
Okay.
And then me and my friend went and made this film. And like it was a really rubbish camera. So the SD card was like, I don't think it was an SD card, but it was a thing before SD cards. So we had to shoot like a minute of footage or however long of footage and then upload it and then shoot the next bit of footage. And then my friend invested in like a little mini DV camera, and then I bought my own mini DV camera, and then we went to university, and there was like loads of like decent cameras that we could use there. But yeah, the first one was like a little one that was just for photographs.
Wow.
But yeah, I had like no memory or no anything like that one. But yeah,
it's mad to think now. I remember when, and please don't judge me on this, but I remember when Big Brother started, and they looked for applications, and you had to send a video in of yourself, and I quite fancied it as a bit of an experiment, but it was always a case of I don't know anyone with a video camera, or I can't be bothered getting the camera, putting it on VHS or whatever it was at the time, and doing it that way. Whereas now, you think about it, it's crazy.
What Big Brother did you want to go on? Like, how early was it? Just so I know sort of what level.
Yeah, it was the second one. So
so that's like that's still normal people on it.
Yeah. When it was literally people got into it because they sounded interesting, not because they were idiots and they wanted to be famous.
Yeah, I think like by Big Brother 3, there was a guy that left really early on because I think he was quite normal and everyone else was really weird.
Yeah,
I think he climbed over the fence, and that was like
yeah. I remember his name as well.
Sandy, was it?
Yeah, it was Sandy. Yeah, I'm glad you said that as well. Right, okay, quickly, let's move on before people start judging us. Okay, so that was your backstory. So what do you do now?
So now I create regular content for businesses. So I create shows for businesses. So what we do, like people come here once a month, or I go to them once a month, and we shoot a number of videos, so episodes for them to post out on social media and on their website. So basically it's to get people to their website to sort of subscribe to their email lists and things like that, so they can build relationships with people over an amount of time. So we're creating episodic content regularly, rather than just sort of one-off stuff, which is what I was doing when I first started. It was just sort of, make a video, and then move on to the next person, And now it's sort of stick with the same people and build their brand through this sort of episodic content.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I like the idea of it being episodic as well, rather than just a one-off thing, which traditionally probably people saw videos as much more of that. Get something on your website, an intro video, and that's it, done.
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of creating video content then?
So I think there's so many, but the main one I think is that people get to know who you are. So they might not meet you in person, or they might meet you in person at one point, but they'll get to know you because you're posting these videos regularly. So that if you do meet them in person, they'll feel like they know you, and you might not have heard from them, you might not have seen them at all, or you might not have seen them since the first time you met them, but because they've been taking in all your content, they'll feel like they know who you are, and they'll approach you as if they know who you are. And I think that's like, when that happens, that's like really quite. It's going to sound really like corny, but really quite magical. It's really cool when that does happen. It's happened to me a couple of times. It's happened to people I've worked with a few times, and like they feed that back to me, and it's like, oh yeah, you know it's working when that happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good to know, and I suppose
Mm.
big advocate of that, simply because that's sort of how I got to know yourself, via LinkedIn and the videos you
Yeah,
produce
exactly.
there.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be talking if you weren't producing those videos.
Yeah, exactly. No, we wouldn't at all.
So, how easy is it to create original content, and how hard is it once you start creating that original content to produce it on a regular basis?
So yeah, it's relatively easy to start. You don't need a lot. Like, I think you can just start with your phone, but I would recommend, like, you could start with your phone, but then I would recommend building your the equipment you've got from there. So improving it from your phone to maybe getting a better camera, getting better lighting, getting better sound equipment, to the point where it looks really, really good. I'd be an advocate of that. Like, I do watch people's videos on their phones, but the most of the content I watch is like, you can tell they put effort into making it look good, and I do enjoy watching that. I don't know if that's just because I make videos myself that I enjoy watching people's videos when they put effort into making it. But I think if you're making a concerted effort to improve how you're doing it every time, then you're always going to be sort of striving to improve not just your videos, but sort of every other sort of department of your business as well. So I'm always sort of wary of when things are getting a bit stale, and I want to change things up and make things better. So I'm always thinking, like, how can I improve it? How can I improve it? How can I improve it? And then the next part of that question, how hard is it to produce regular video content? It is really, really hard. So I've just made 265th episode of my show. And it is a big commitment. That is years of work that's gone into that. You've got to start somewhere. So it's hard to get started, but it's harder, I think, to keep going. So I'm not done after 265. Like, I've got an aim to get to 1,000, and then I'll probably have an aim to get to 2,000, 3,000,
Yeah.
and just keep going and going and going and going. And I'll change up how I do things. I'll change how I shoot, how I record stuff, how I present stuff. I just always want to improve it, and the same goes with the people that I work with as well. Like, I just want to improve the results they get, how they shoot it, how it looks. Always look to sort of improve it, and that is hard to do. So you've always got to sort of think about it um, in a what's the word?
I suppose you've got to look at it, because there's the danger that what's working for you wouldn't work for other people, but you know how to do that. And if you've got, say, 5 or 6 clients, the easiest thing to do would be to replicate every
Yeah.
single thing you do for everyone. But everyone's different, and everyone's got a different market. So for you, I suppose the trick is it will just be different every single time but with that consistency for each client.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, my stuff works quite well on LinkedIn, but I'm working with someone who is targeting um, people over 50 who who are looking for sort of care homes or like regular care for their parents. So their parents are sort of 80 plus, and they're not going to be on LinkedIn. Like, they might not be. They're probably not going to be on LinkedIn. So we're running sort of Facebook ads and stuff off the back of that. So it's totally different from how my videos would work.
Okay, so the best you just mentioned there, LinkedIn
Yeah.
is where you really get some traction, for want of a corny phrase, for putting your videos online. But is there a particular platform that works best for videos, or is it all different dependent on the business?
It is really different depending on the business. Like, the obvious one that stands out to everyone is YouTube, but like, I think it has its upsides and downsides. Um, like, gone are the days where you could just sort of post a video on YouTube and it would get like a few hundred, maybe a few thousand views. Like, if you just posted a video on YouTube and had put no effort into the description keywords or posting videos regularly, you'd probably get under 10 views
Mm.
on that. So if you're going to do YouTube, you've got to do it properly. LinkedIn, I've put like is good for businesses and posting regular content. So that's how we got in touch, sort of through that regular content.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of giving tips. Somebody in the office yesterday was saying about, I hate LinkedIn because it's so salesy. And that's like totally the opposite of what I want to be on LinkedIn. And it's just sort of, I just want to be giving people ideas, giving value, building relationships, and not really selling anything. It's sort of maybe getting people across to my website so they can subscribe to my email list and then growing that relationship from there. I'm trying not to be salesy on LinkedIn. And I've put
Yeah.
Wistia as well. So Wistia is a place where you can host your videos and then sort of embed them on your website or embed them on landing pages and places like that. So you used to be able to do that with YouTube, and there would be sort of no ads or no suggested videos playing at the end. But now YouTube's turned that off, so you can't sort of embed a video on your website without suggested videos at the end. So Wistia is a good way around that, where you can post your video on your website, and it's literally, that's all it's for. It's just for your website, and there's great analytics on the back of that. It is quite expensive for that, but there are alternatives to Wistia as well. So there's things like Vimeo and Vimeo Pro and stuff like that, where
That's cool.
it's good for embedding.
It's always good to have those options as well, because I think a lot of people just think there's, or what I always find is that regardless whoever you speak to, they've always got one little tip, trick, platform, software that you don't know about. And you're like, how did I not know about this?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And I interviewed a guy from Wistia called Phil Nottingham,
Okay.
way back, and that was really interesting to find out a bit more about the platform and everything like that, because I'd never heard of it until then. Anyway, okay, moving on. So on your actual website, you talk about video content and repurposing it. How and why do we do this?
So how you do it? So the way I suggest doing it is taking like your video, say where you're answering a question, and then I'd send that to a website called rev.com. Loads of people are talking about it now, but that takes your video and gives you subtitle files. It gives you a transcription of your video as well. And then you can take that transcription. So you use the subtitles to put on your video. I take the transcription, I send that off to somebody in South Africa who turns that into a blog. So he just repurposes that into a written blog that then I post on LinkedIn and on my website. Then I also have the option to cut down the video. So say if the video is 3 minutes long and it's got maybe 3 or 4 different points that I cover, I can cut that into 3 or 4 different other little clip videos as well that I can put across on other bits to social media as well. And then if like say the video is sort of 3 minutes long, I can take the audio of that and put that on as a podcast and sort of slightly repurpose that as a podcast. So the way you're doing this here, we're shooting it as a video, but you're also using it as a podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I do that is because it just saves a hell of a lot of time from writing a blog that's sort of about my video, that's recording a podcast after shooting the video, or making all these other three or four little videos as well. I've got one video and I can turn that into loads of bits of content. So I was talking at an event last week and I was saying, like, if you're at an event, there's loads of opportunities to interview people and things like that. So you can get loads of videos from that and then repurpose those into other, like, hundreds of bits of content from just one day of filming.
And it's like any type of content. I think there's content absolutely everywhere. It's just a case of trying to find it. And that's something I'm massively learning. It's like I've got so many presentations, documents, and information, and in them there's probably about 10 or 15 pieces of content that are right there in front of my face that I wouldn't even consider.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's mad, really, isn't it? And like you said, if you go to a show or something like that, you can talk to somebody, chat to somebody, just photography, whatever it is, and it's a whole day's worth of content. And I suppose it's thinking a bit smarter about it as well, in terms of bulking on that content and then breaking it down and repurposing it.
Yeah, that itself does take time, but it's a lot less time than if you were to make all those bits of content from scratch. So
yeah, so we've mentioned it a few times, and you're saying you release your videos on LinkedIn through the video show, which I see is your way of producing content, helpful content, and it definitely is helpful. And I love the way you engage with the audience. And again, that's partly why we're talking now, because it was really engaging and you were asking people for assistance even in creating your content, which produced content in itself. But I think I've pretty much answered that question for you. But why did you start this? What gave you that idea like 265 episodes ago? And what benefits have you seen from it?
So the reason why I started was because like I started a video company and I wasn't creating any video myself. So I thought I've got to start creating my own videos because I've got to be able to like talk the talk and walk the walk. And so people can know who I am and like that I know what I'm talking about. So it just started away as a way of sort of answering people's questions, and talking about sort of myths and misconceptions about video, and just talking about what kind of cameras to use and how you shoot video yourself. There's like so much I could talk about with video. So it just sort of started as a way of doing that. And the kind of things I built my business off the back of it really. So I used to go networking all the time, and that was the way sort of I got a lot of my business. But I haven't been networking like I used to go networking sort of 3 times a week, like in person, and now I probably go once a month. But I post videos like once or twice a week. I probably could and should do more, but people know me because of that, because of the videos I post. Like I built relationships off the back of it. I've got business off the back of it. I turn up at events sometimes, and people know. Like people have said, "Ah, you're the guy from the video," or "You're the guy from LinkedIn." And then like that's when you know it's working, because it's just like people know you because of the videos, and then you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm doing that because it's working."
It's a bit
And like it
freaky
doesn't
when that
happen
happens.
overnight. It doesn't happen overnight at all. Like it's years of work. Uh, like to get to a decent point. I think you need sort of months of work to see it start working. So I do tell when I'm working with people, I do tell people to commit to sort of 6 months before they see like some good return on it. But once you start doing it, like it's really worth doing.
So out of interest, one episode, I think they're about 2 to 3 minutes long that you produce. How long would that take you to actually do from start to finish?
So I spend probably half a day. So I plan it. So that takes a little bit of time, because I come up with a point, like the question I want to answer, or somebody asks me the question that I need to answer. And then I write the points that I want to cover. I'm quite lucky to have like this setup here in the studio behind me, where I've got the camera, I've got my sofa there. I've like built a little sort of set here in the studio where I can shoot stuff. So that's quite easy to set up because it's already here. The lights are already set up. And then I sort of shoot it. I don't necessarily answer the question all in one go. So I've got 2 cameras. So if I do screw up, I can cut from one camera to the next. Sometimes I do answer it all in one go, but it's very, very rare. And then editing probably takes sort of a couple of hours afterwards as well. So about half a day for one episode.
Okay, great. So now what I want to do is move into a bit of a practical element, which is new for Marketing Study Lab. And I'm going to hand over to Mark to take us through something of which I know very little about. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to actually see the video of this practical element, where Mark takes us through a short presentation he did about testimonials and creating video testimonials, check it out on my website or the YouTube channel. The links are in the show notes. Mark, back over to you.
Okay, so last week I did a presentation about like all sorts of video stuff, but I thought one of the most interesting things was testimonials. And like the way that testimonials work, or the way testimonials used to work for me, was that I'd say to someone, "Oh, can you make me a video testimonial?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, great." And then they'd make me a testimonial, but what I'd get back was just sort of gumph and like sludge, and just sort of, "Oh, Mark's a great guy. He did a really good job. I'd really recommend him," and that'd be about it. But the way you get like a really decent, good quality video testimonial is by asking very specific questions. And you'll see that when we go through the questions, that one very much leads to the next one. So by the end of it, you've sort of painted the whole journey from start to finish about how things were before, and then how things are now and what the process was like and what surprised you. So the first question, really easy, is who are you and where are you based? So that really sets the scene as well, like who they are, where they're based. I'd also ask, what do you do? So you can sort of get people when they're watching it to include themselves in this. They might also exclude themselves in this. But if you've got enough video testimonials, you're kind of sort of saying, "Oh, I help a range of different people in different capacities." And then what were things like before? So why did they? What were things like? So why did they bring you on board? What things were going wrong? What kind of problems were they facing? And then why were they thinking about bringing you on board? So why were things so bad that they had to bring you on board? And then why did they choose you in particular? So what things stood out? So did they know you from like networking? Did they know you because of the videos or the content you made? Did they find you on Google, something like that? Just sort of why they chose you above everybody else to like that sort of stood out. And
Mhm.
then what were the results? So what kind of results did they get? How quickly did that happen? Um, then that sort of links in quite well with the next question, was what surprised you about working with the company? So was there anything that happened that you didn't expect, that you were kind of pleasantly surprised that did happen? So was the service particularly good? Were they particularly helpful in their aftercare, anything like that? So what kind of things that you didn't expect happened as a result of working with you? And then how and why would you recommend you or this company? It's just a really nice sort of way of sort of tying it up nicely at the end, just to get like a nice little sound bite at the end of the video. And it's just all these questions is a really nice way of getting a really good quality video testimonial. And it's much better than just asking, "Oh, can you make me a video testimonial?" It's a lot. You'll get a lot better quality video and yeah, a recommendation afterwards. And then you can use this as a video, you can use this as audio content, you can repurpose this into sort of written testimonials as well. So you can take quotes and put them on your website and things like that. And then you can use that on and on and on forevermore.
I like the way you've got some stock questions there, and then the key one for me is what surprised you about working with the company. So
Yeah,
simply because it's something that you very rarely think about. It's well, they were offering this and we did this, and it's like, okay, well, what was different, what was extra, what was special? I like that one.
yeah. I think that's a really good one that makes it stand out a little bit, because like now and again there will be stuff that they weren't expecting that happens as a result. So yeah, as I said, there might be like, I was really surprised about their level of communication or something like that.
So what do you do? Because I think we've all been in. I certainly have been in this situation. But what do you do when you're asking these questions and you pretty much get in? Yeah, it's fine.
Mm. Yeah. So, I do this a lot. So I travel around interviewing like different franchisees and staff for franchises. So I do that a lot. And when I do get um, people like that, so I interview a number of people for it. So for me, it's okay just to get through that and move on to the next person,
Okay.
because that person might be particularly nervous, or they might just not want to say too much about it. I've had people like point blank refuse to do testimonials because they're so nervous about it. Um, and it might just be because they're nervous. But I do just say, look, it's just a chat. So I might not stick rigidly to those questions. So they might say something in the first question, and I might ask them a question about what they've said, just to help them relax, so it feels more like a natural conversation rather than just sort of a list of questions I've got. So just sort of that's sort of like the basis of it, but feel free to sort of just have a conversation off the back of that, and that will help people relax into the
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive help if you've almost got a few questions, a few standard questions, and a few off the cuff questions that can help them relax. That they might not like. The worst thing you can do is overthink the questions that are put in front of you, and then you just almost freeze.
Yeah, like people come to me and they've already sort of thought through what their answers are, and they're like, "Oh, I must remember what to say," and I just say, "Totally forget it. We're just going to have a conversation about so they're actually telling the truth about like what happened, so they don't have to
Yeah.
remember anything." All I remember is what actually happened.
That's cool. Okay, so it's my time to ask you to answer these quick fire questions if you're ready.
Yes.
Excellent. Name one must-read business book.
Just Listen by Mark Goulston. Good book.
Interesting. I haven't heard that one before. What is the last thing you Googled?
Oh God. Can I just check that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Because it might have changed.
We've got to be factually correct.
There you go. It was the general election. So what were the results in the previous general election?
Oh, wow. That's yeah, let's move on. Too deep. What would be a one tip for people who are studying?
Get experience in what you want to do. So actually go out and find your own experience.
I'm hearing that a hell of a lot more now than I ever have. What if you could tell your 10-year-old self one thing, what would it be?
Does it have to be like business related?
No, not at all.
Put money on Leicester winning the league in 2015-16.
That is brilliant. What were 3,000 to 1? I think they were.
Yeah, I put 10 on it. Christ.
I know. The one of the best answers I've had for that question was don't talk to 40-year-olds, because the guy that I was asking the question to was 40. So.
All right.
and finally, most importantly, if people want to find out more about you, what you do, where should they go?
So they can find me on LinkedIn. So just search Mark Harman or Mark Harman Redbook Productions, or just go to my website, which is redbookproductions.co.uk, and they connect with me there.
Brilliant, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been good. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us once again, Mark. Absolute pleasure talking to you about all things video and content creation. And here's just a few takeaways that I got from that really interesting chat. The first one being that it's interesting to note that one of the main benefits of creating video content is the awareness that it brings you as an individual, and subsequently for your business. It makes you more authoritative in a certain area, the area that you're talking about on video, the certain topics you mention. But it makes you more approachable as a person, because people already know who you are, what you do, and if you do it right, what problems you can help them solve. Now, although Mark stated that it's a big commitment to create regular video content, good regular video content, for example, his popular video show is now over 260 episodes in length. Wow. But the rewards are massively worth this effort, because it includes exposure, as we just mentioned. But the engagement this video content can bring is mightily impressive, especially on platforms like LinkedIn. And if you think about it, that's kind of how me and Mark ended up chatting and recording this podcast. One thing just leads to another, all about that engagement. And here is the good news. As long as you have a phone with a camera in it, you can just start. Start small, then look to improve when you start to build your confidence and the engagement you're getting off your videos. But starting is the most important step. So tell you what, let's all start making videos and build our personal brands into something worth watching. Thank you so much for joining us today on Marketing Study Lab. It really means the world that you're listening to this out there. And hopefully I've provided you some value. If you're looking to know more about what Marketing Study Lab does and is about, go to marketingstudylab.co.uk or get in touch with me personally, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or feel free to email me at peter@marketingstudylab.co.uk. Happy marketing.